NASCAR Coast to Coast coming at you on this Thursday, August the 12th. We got a big show for you, including our special guest this week, Patrick Emerling. The NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour invades Richmond Raceway this weekend. He's in the thick of the championship hunt. We'll talk about his season and the outlook for Richmond as he's a part of a major, just absolutely slammed entry list for the Ground Pounders coming up on Thursday night. Plus, next week, it is the Battle of Berlin, the 250 with the late models at Berlin Raceway. We'll tell you who's on the entry list and can anybody stop Carson Hocevar around that racetrack. Plus, we've got a lot of newsmakers in the NASCAR regional world. And your last batch of the the NASCAR Top 40 Modified Drivers list has been released. We'll let you know who has made the cut on that prestigious list. All that, plus a lot more, including your schedule. NASCAR Coast to Coast on the Motor Racing Network starts right now. Welcome into NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network. My name is Chris Wilner, MRN Pit Reporter, and we kick off today's show as we head to Richmond Raceway this weekend with the driver currently sitting third in points in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, Mr. Patrick Emerling. Patrick, welcome to the show. Glad to have you back, and how are we feeling heading into Richmond?
Oh, we're feeling really good after our last Thompson race, and actually the last several races before that. We were just having absolutely incredible speed in the Fleetworks #1 car. And we were really good there at Richmond last year. And, we did have a wreck there, and we're involved in a little bit of something, but really looking forward. But we did, we were running really, really strong there, and just really looking forward to having the opportunity to get back there. Richmond makes an absolutely awesome modified track, and it's just an absolute pleasure to be able to go there and race.
Before we talk about the weekend, you mentioned really good after Thompson. Finally got that second win of the season. It felt like forever since New Smyrna when we kicked off the season. What have the last several races been like before Thompson? Did you feel like you finally got the monkey back off your back and put that thing in victory lane?
Yeah, a little bit. We just been a little bit close. We've been really close. We did have, we did have a little bit of bad luck this season with. We did have like a fuel pump fail and wrecks and stuff like that. So, just typical racing stuff, luck, right? We had a little bit earlier on, but we've been really firing on all cylinders, and we had some really, really fast cars the last several races. And, it's just I kind of call it, even Lancaster, both Monadnocks, those races, I call it unopportune cautions. Right.
Yeah.
And so we had just a little bit of strategy, a little bit of just cautions coming out at the wrong time that didn't really help us, and just stuff like that. And a little bit of, and kind of the newer strategy on the Whelen Modified Tour where you're able to keep on taking tires. I think that kind of hurts us a little bit because we have really good long run speed, and a lot of guys, can go really good when they fire on a few tires. But yeah, that's a lot of it, and just inopportune cautions and getting bounced around a little bit, a few races, but yeah, it was really nice to. We had really good speed at Thompson last year at that race, and was definitely looking forward to go back, and we were able to kind of cap that off with a win. So that was a pretty awesome day for us.
Yeah, how do you guys adjust with the strategy? Being able to, like you said, take tires now. I know we're still kind of learning things as well, where you can take a maximum of 2 per pit stop, but how does that change how you approach races? Granted, the races are a little bit different lengths no matter where you go, but kind of the whole strategy game revolves around when and when not to take tires. So how have you guys learned how to figure that out over the last several weeks?
Yeah, so pretty much what you do is, you look at the odds, right? So you look at what is going to happen, like what happened in previous races and what the races with that amount of cars at that particular race on that, what normally happens at that day. So you look at that and you look at like for example, Thompson, so there's a lot of guys that took 2 tires, right? Us and a few other cars gave up track position to come back around, take the 3rd tire, right?
Yeah.
And so we knew that Thompson has, when you get that midway caution, it is likely that it runs out, right? So without a caution. And so that's what it could have been different to where, all right, we could have gotten a string of cautions after that, and it would have maybe possibly change that. So it's like, and even like those Monadnock races, same thing. Like there was some different strategy stuff, and with the Monadnock's really good on tires, so it's one of them things like damned if you do, damned if you don't type situation. So it's it definitely leaves some things open a little bit to more circumstances, and the way the cautions fly. Kind of you can have like your, all right, we got our A+, like this is most likely this is going to happen, but then a few more cautions can fly and it can kind of get you a little bit. And like in the past, you just come in, get your 3 tires when basically with the whole field, and now it's like it's opened up already, the 2 tires, so we got to come back around, lose a bunch of track position if you want to take a third. So yeah, just stuff like that. It definitely changes how things can play out there for sure.
It is always unique when here at the Motor Racing Network, we get to cover a couple of the races during the year. And I just have to train my brain because typically on the NASCAR side, right, you either take 2 or 4. And it's either 2 right sides, 2 left sides, or all 4 tires. Here we're talking about 2 rears or maybe a left rear on the third time. Like, I mean, how bizarre is it for you? Because I mean, you do some NASCAR racing as well. So it's like you have to kind of almost remind yourself that these rules are completely different than what we're used to.
Yeah, it's definitely a little tricky. Yeah, like the 2 tires. Yeah, there's options. You can do rears and rights, and that definitely makes it a little interesting, right? And at different tracks, they have different tendencies with a particular setup to what you would take there, right? And so it's definitely makes it interesting.
So about this time last year, if I'm not mistaken, is kind of when you went on your run toward trying to close down the championship lead at the back half of the season. We're kind of at that time of the year. You got Richmond, Oswego coming up after this weekend, Riverhead, New Hampshire. Of course, we go back to Thompson and then Martinsville. Do you kind of feel like you guys are hitting everything on all cylinders at this time? And can you make a run? You're only 19 points back, so it's pretty much anyone's game there at the front of the field.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were pretty confident going into these last several races, and I think our worst finish, other than our 3 DNFs, well, we did get spun out at the one, but other than that, our worst finish was 3rd, right?
Yeah.
So, no, we're really, I think we're really firing on all cylinders, and really looking forward to these next couple of races. Oswego we have after. We have Richmond, and just going back to Thompson again. So we have a lot of really good tracks coming up here.
Richmond is unique when we go there this weekend. Obviously, it's a big weekend because NASCAR's in town, but that racetrack, just with the banking on the front stretch and the speeds, really the different lines that you can race around that facility. What makes that place challenging as far as just getting what you need to out of the race car and kind of unloading where you want to be without kind of playing catch up?
Yeah, it just suits modified so well, and I think we have a pretty good package there. And but it's just one of them tracks that just really suits, like kind of like how Loudon also suits modifieds incredibly well.
Oh yeah,
it's a really slick track, and you really have to balance, getting your forward drive right, but still keeping the car turning. So it's like, but you are lacking a lot of grip there, so there is a lot of I think a decent amount of tire fall off, and just it is a tricky place. And even you see it when I ran in the national series there, it's compared to a lot of these other tracks, I call it's like an ice skating rink, right? And so big tire fall off, and definitely have to those bigger tracks like that, especially with the modified, you got to definitely have to get the stuff right, or else it could be a long day.
And it's a racy racetrack. I mean, I know you got swept up last year, but I mean, there were 20 lead changes among 5 drivers. It felt like nobody was safe at the front of the field. Do you kind of expect that to be the same this year, just with how competitive it'll be at the front?
I believe so. Yeah. Cause the track is, it's a larger track than what we normally run on. And so the draft is really kind of like Loudon. The draft is really prevalent there. So you can, you have to be really, really good to get out there and try to hide if you're at the front of the field, for sure.
All right. And then I have to mention this, last time we ran on NASCAR weekend, we know what happened at North Wilkesboro. I don't think anybody except the top 3 finished with any sort of, markings on their car. We had a lot of tore up race cars. hopefully we've had some time to put that behind us. But what was it about that race? And does the pressure of it being on a NASCAR weekend with more eyeballs on it, does that maybe get some other drivers amped up on it? Or why do you think we saw what we saw at North Wilkesboro? And do you think it'll happen again?
Yeah, that was just really interesting. How we raced. I don't know. So we raced there last year pretty good, right?
Yeah.
And we went pretty cautionless. And then yeah, this year it was just really, really strange on how that race went. And yeah, we were kind of a victim of some stuff there, but yeah, it was just really interesting because as a modifieds as a whole, we've been racing. The series has been racing relatively well, I thought, like the past several years, and like a lot less cautions and stuff like that. And to have, yeah, in that race, it's yeah, it was just really strange that we were just randomly had a wreck fest at a track like that. So it was interesting.
Yeah, it was for sure. And I'm sure there was a come to Jesus meeting at some point, but we'll see what happens when we unload everybody coming up on Thursday night. Let's talk about your NASCAR schedule as well. I know you've been busy with SS Greenlight. You had a couple, seven starts with them. You have even a couple truck starts this year. What has been your takeaway just taking part in those races and kind of helping that program out? And obviously even getting to do the truck stuff is too. I'm sure that's got to have been fun for you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that comes down to our awesome partners, and that's what kind of makes it happen in the national series there. And we, yeah, I mean, some really cool stuff in the works, and yeah, a few more races in the '07 car and SS Greenlight car, and then hopefully we're looking like maybe another few truck races. So yeah, just really looking cool. Yeah, really looking forward to this back half of the season.
What's been the challenge racing the truck, maybe? Because I know you've done the Xfinity stuff for a while in conjunction with the Modified, but then you go hop in a truck with, a little less horsepower. This thing's just weigh a little bit more. I mean, what has been the transition like learning that vehicle?
Yeah, so the truck, I mean, they're a little bit similar. There's the truck, there's definitely a little bit more aero. They're more aero dependent in traffic for sure. I think the truck might suit me a little bit better. Like the Xfinity car, you really got to be good on the brakes, and you really got to slow these things down to get them through the corner. It seems like a lot more. You got to be really more precise on the braking. Or the truck, there's more. It's kind of braking itself more, and you can kind of, like with a modified. I like to kind of roll through the corner, right? And the truck, it seems like they kind of let you do that a little bit more. So when we went to Pocono, that was didn't have any truck experience, but we still qualified 10th, and we did run in the top 10 a lot of the race until we just got a little snug, and just right after we just didn't finish strong, but we ran pretty solid. So yeah, definitely looking forward to getting back into that.
All right. Well, best of luck this weekend. First off, in the Modified, I know there's this guy, Justin Bonsier, that you've got to pretty much drive through to get the win. And then there's this guy, Ryan Priest, that's also in the field as well. So you're going to have your hands full, but it's going to be a fun time. We'll look forward to seeing you down there.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's awesome. It's always great to be racing with that group. And yeah, when Ryan races with us, it's a lot of fun. And yeah, really, really looking forward to Richmond coming up here. And yeah, the races finish off the year.
Awesome. That's Patrick Emerling. Again, third in points as they tackle Richmond Raceway coming up. You can hear that race Thursday night on the Motor Racing Network. Plenty to come, including your schedule, a lot of news in the world of short track racing, and a whole lot more, including the final 10 on the NASCAR Top 40 Modified Drivers. We'll talk about that coming up next here on NASCAR Coast to Coast on MRN.
3, 2, 1, start your engine!
The NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi.
Tell them we got it!
Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory.
Go, baby!
The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on MRN. Appreciate Patrick Emerling joining us. That's going to be a whale of a race coming up. And again, you can hear that race right here on the Motor Racing Network on Thursday night tonight, in fact, as this show comes out. But let's take a look back last week, because MRN was in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York for a triple header of NASCAR racing action, or actually a quadruple header if you really think about it, with the ARCA Menard Series kicking things off at Watkins Glen International for the General Tire 100. Brent Cruz looked like he was going to walk away with this one. The driver I think a lot of us had pegged on our bingo cards as being the favorite for this weekend just because of his road racing prowess. Of course, he won a Trans Am race there as well. But unfortunately, the battery couldn't hang on, having some voltage issues late in the race after the halfway break, stalled on the racetrack and opened the door for 15-year-old, newly minted 15-year-old, had a birthday on Sunday before the race. Tristan McKee, the Spire Motorsports development driver, was in capitalization position in the top three when Brent Cruz had his issue, had to race with Tyler Reif there at the end. But the youngster getting it done at Watkins Glen for his first career ARCA Menard Series win on debut, the 38th driver in series history to win on debut, and the second youngest first-time winner in ARCA Menard Series history. He's the Trans Am TA2 points leader, so a lot of experience on the road course. But again, at just 15 years of age, I can't imagine what was going through his mind on that late race restart. But he nailed it, drove away from Tyler Reif and Chris Wright, who both had to settle for the second and third positions. And it was actually Chris Wright who fell back one spot to Tyler there at the end on the final lap. So Chris Wright having a good rebound after his debut this season when Venturini Motorsports went up pretty early into the wall at Iowa Speedway. He comes back for a top three finish here at the Glen. But it's all Tristan McKee. So the youngster who probably should have won that $50,000 at the throwback race at Hickory if it wasn't for that late race crash. Well, he redeems himself at Watkins Glen on the national stage with the ARCA Menard Series. So the championship still wide open. Brendan Butterbean Queen has the advantage over Lawless Allen, but Queen had issues with transmission early on. He was many laps down. Wallace Allen had issues, I believe, with a fuel pump. You had Isabella Robusto had some issues as well, although she rallied for a solid finish. LeVar Scott had some damage. I mean, you name it, every championship competitor had some sort of issues. So nobody walked away safer than maybe what they were going in. But again, the season's still hot and heavy as they go to the dirt coming up this weekend. So they continue to go back to back to back in this kind of grueling stretch of the season. The ARCA West competitors were in action over the weekend at Tri-City Raceway out there in California, the Napa Auto Care 150. But it was Kyle Keller again doing some amazing things. His first West win of the season. He's been in position before, and this time it paid off because Jake Bowman just gave up the lead there after the 5 to go restart. It was a really great battle, and Kyle Keller was able to walk away with the win. The Biff was in action. We mentioned that last week. Greg Biffle typically runs this race once a year and rallied for a top three finish at his home track. So really good to see the Biff in action. Of course, he's been out playing with Cletus McFarland and things like that, but good to see Greg Biffle back in an ARCA car. And then when it comes to the championship, again, this series continues to kind of run through the back third of its season. It's been all about Trevor Huddleston, but that 7-point lead is starting to shrink every week, it seems like. Still has 7 points over Kyle Keller, but another win, or a win for Kyle, certainly it's hard to tighten up that championship. So they go back in action at Portland here in a couple weeks. The Portland 112. You can hear that race on the Motor Racing Network. We'll have a crew out there in Portland Friday, August 29th. Some other winners over the weekend. Really just one major one that caught my eye, and that's DJ Shaw, the past super late model winner out at Oxford Plains. Got it done the day after he won the qualifier for the Oxford 250 in the Oxford Championship Series. So a little double dip at Oxford gives DJ Shaw all the momentum in the world as we get closer and closer. That actually was the final lead up to the Oxford 250 that's coming up August 22nd, so just about a week and change from now, is the big Oxford 250. So DJ Shaw, if you're a betting person, you may want to put some money on DJ after a couple of wins out there at Oxford Plains over the weekend. Some news and notes over the weekend. I mentioned Oxford Plains. Well, the Oxford 250 winner, two-time matter of fact, and ASA Stars national points leader Cole Butcher has inked his first Truck Series race with Hallmark Friesen. They made the announcement this week. He'll drive the number 62 for Hallmark Friesen Racing in that second truck in the Toyota at Bristol Motor Speedway on September 27th. So Cole Butcher's had a lot of great racing over the course of the season. Of course, not only does he lead the points with the Stars Tour, he won the big Redbud 400 a couple of weeks ago. Now he'll make his Craftsman Truck Series debut coming up at Bristol. So another one of our short track regional racers making the next jump to the NASCAR National Series. Speaking of NASCAR National Series, our defending ARCA Menard Series champion, Andres Perez de Lara, has a new home in the Craftsman Truck Series as they dwindle down their season coming up this week. Actually, the cutoff race for the playoffs. Andres Perez no longer a part of Spire Motorsports. They mutually agreed as Andres was granted permission to find other opportunities to finish the year. Well, he's found one. He's now made his home over at Nice Motorsports. So again, now Spire is going to dwindle down to a 3-truck effort for the rest of the year. We'll see what the future holds for that organization as they move the points from Andres' number 77 over to, I think, the 07 where Corey LaJoie is going to run the rest of the year. So interesting shakeup there for Andres Perez de Lara. Good news, though, he will continue to try to fight his way into the drivers' playoffs. He's in a must-win situation, but he's going to have to do it aboard the Nice Motorsports number 44. And the countdown has reached 0 for NASCAR's unveiling of the top 40 NASCAR modified drivers of all time. They've been doing so in increments of about 10 over the course of the summer, and we wrap up the summer with our final 10 inductees, and a big congratulations to Ryan Preece. We kind of previewed that we think he would be one of them, but it's now official. Ryan Preece, Reggie Ruggiero, Jamie Tamanio, Doug Heverson, Scratch Worley, Matt Hirschman, Big Money Matt's on the list, Tony Hirschman, his brother, John McKennedy, Bobby Santos III, and Jimmy Spencer are your final 10 and the NASCAR all-time top 40 modified drivers list. A big congratulations to them. Hopefully we'll get a couple of them on the show before the year's all done, but big congratulatory salute to those drivers that complete our top 40 list. Well, we did have some sad news over the week as well, as we lost sportsman driver Robbie Brewer at Bowman Gray Stadium over the weekend on Saturday night. Suffered what his family has released as a cardiac arrest situation where he had a heart attack and then crashed the car during the sportsman feature. Robbie was just 53 years of age, had 11 wins in the sportsman division at Bowman Gray Stadium, was their 2011 sportsman champion at the track, plus a 2-time 602 modified champion as well, with many wins in that division. So certainly our condolences to Robbie Brewer, his family, and everybody at Bowman Gray Stadium. But Robbie, doing what he loved to the very end, again, was 53 years old. All right, looking at our schedule this week, as we record this show, which is actually on Wednesday, but it's coming to you on Thursday. Battle at Berlin going on at Berlin Raceway in Martin, Michigan. Our Jeff Striegel's been ready to rock ever since the Money in the Bank. They've had tons of big shows since then, but this is kind of their end of the summer, early fall capper with the 250 for the super late models. And yes, Carson Hocevar, probably the ultimate favorite in this one. Of course, the defending winner of this race. He won the Money in the Bank back in June. And I believe if you're going to get the checkered flag, it's going to go through Carson Hocevar. So that's going on as we speak at Berlin Raceway. Of course, Kyle Busch is a former winner of this one. Actually claimed the first 3 before we had other winners like Bubba Pollard, Eric Jones, and of course the aforementioned Carson Hocevar. $40,000 on the line for these folks. Big entry list as well. Evan Shotko, Bubba Pollard, Cole Raz in the field. Eric Jones is there as well. So, of course, we'll see what happens next week. We'll give you a recap. But, again, that's happening as we speak. So, unfortunately, don't have the results for you at this point. But we can tell you there's a lot more racing coming your way, including tonight on MRN, the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, 7:30 airtime, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. It's the Virginia's for Racing Lovers 150 at Richmond. We heard from Patrick Emerling about what to expect this race. Just super racy. It's one of the best of the season, including last year's event. 20 lead changes among 5 different drivers. That was the best, I guess, in the track's history of hosting the Modified Tour. Remember, they had their return in 2021, and ever since then, it has been super competitive. Of course, Justin Bonsignor comes in as the defending winner and continues to track down Austin Beers in the championship. But Patrick Emerling, as we heard from, could be one to watch as well. Had really good speed until a crash late last year. Comes off the Thompson Motor Speedway win. But then they have to go through a driver named Ryan Preece, who has put his name on the entry list as well. So Ryan, who is no stranger to this racetrack, certainly is going to be one to watch as well. All the favorites are going to be there as well. Austin Beers, no Ron Silk this time, so we will have a different battle for the lead. But again, Justin Bonsinger, the ultimate favorite coming into this weekend. Ryan Newman's in the entry list. Corey LaJoy, who I mentioned, is going to run the truck race. He is on the entry list as well. Corey's won some big races on the tour as well. Carson Lofton, Danny Bone, and a lot more on the entry list. So again, 7:30 p.m. Eastern tonight, Thursday night on MRN. You can hear the ground pounders at Richmond Raceway. ARCA Menard Series, I mentioned, they're going back to back to back to back to back. They have now transitioned from short tracks to Watkins Glen on the road course, and now they're going on the dirt, the first of 2 dirt races of the season at the Springfield Mile. The ARCA 100 coming up on Sunday, August 17th, 2 p.m. Eastern on FS1 is their TV window, but it's Brent Cruz who won his first ARCA Menard Series platform race at this race, beating Jesse Love in 2023. We'll see if Brent Cruz can do that again. Max Reeves, though, is going to be behind the wheel of the JGR Toyota. So going into that one, as Cruz will sit in for the Nitro Motorsports number 70. So a little youngster battle there between Max Reeves and Brent Cruz. Some other names, Kelly Koski, Sam Corey, who is one of those TA2 drivers that got a couple of ARCA Menard Series starts this year, Sean Core, Tony Cosentino, and plenty more on the entry list again on Sunday as Brendan Queen sits on a 24 points lead over Lawless Allen going into this one. So kind of the stretch run of the season, couple dirt races, and then it's short track racing minus Kansas throughout the end of the season. So should be interesting on Sunday. We'll see the ARCA cars on dirt again Sunday at 2 p.m. Some other events this weekend. Cars Tour is back in action. The ZMAX Cars Tour with a doubleheader with the late model stocks and pro late models on the heels of the throwback race at Hickory Motor Speedway 2 weeks ago. This one Saturday night beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern. Dale Jr. headlining the entry list, makes his second start of the season, first since April, and he's going to run that iconic Budweiser baseball Chevrolet scheme that he did in 2004 on the NASCAR Cup Series. Connor Hall, though, his teammate and the full-time junior motorsports driver, has your points lead in the late model stocks just by 12 over Landon Lewis. Minnie Tyrell, who picked up the biggest win of his career at Hickory Motor Speedway, jumped to 4th in the championship. He's just 27 points back. So top 4 well within striking distance of each other when it comes to the championship. Carson Lofton, who I mentioned is going to run with the Modified Tour on Thursday. He's entered for the Cars Tour late model stock portion on Saturday. Connor Jones, Jared Fryer, Cade Brown are also back on that entry list. And then the pro late models, Ben Mayer still holds a 12-point lead in a stacked field that also includes Luke Baldwin, who we'll see in action, Jade Avedissian, and ARCA winner from last week, Tristan McKee, all in action on the pro late models. So Cars Tour are going to get back after it here this weekend at Anderson Speedway in South Carolina on Saturday night. And then your full calendar Thursday, you got the Triple Crown Series at Barry, Vermont's Thunder Road. Friday, the Open Modified 80 at Stafford Speedway. Saturday, all the racing you can muster. The Baldwin Evans and Jarzombeck 77 at Riverhead Raceway. Championship night at Oswego, plus NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series racing at Berlin, Jennerstown. The Twin Modified 25s coming up at Bowman Gray on Saturday. Slinger has their special event on Saturday night as well, plus the Cars Tour West at Colorado National. But if you're tuning in to us here on the Motor Racing Network, here's your calendar for NASCAR racing starting tonight, Thursday night, with the Modifieds at Richmond Raceway. The Virginias for Racing Lovers 150, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, the airtime for that. On Friday, a little doubleheader for you. First up is Cup practice and pole qualifying for the NASCAR Cup Series at 4:30 p.m. Eastern from Richmond. And following that will be the Euro 250 for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, their final regular season race of the year. We'll find out who makes the top 10 for the run to the playoffs and the championship at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then on Saturday, a little night racing at Richmond for the Cup Series. The Cookout 400 airtime will get you set on NASCAR Live Race Day at 6:30 p.m. Eastern for all the action on Saturday night. Should be a good one, and looking forward to bringing you all the action with our talented Motor Racing Network crew starting again tonight with the Modifieds. For our guest this week, Patrick Emerling, our producer, Pat Jaggers, we want to thank you for joining us this week here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, a jam-packed show as always. Looking forward to breaking things down for you next week. My name is Chris Willer. Enjoy your weekend of racing. We'll see you and hear you on the Motor Racing Network this weekend. And of course, we'll break down all the short track action for you next week. Have a good one.